By the way, he's an artist too.
Get at that elk a little bit right there.
Yeah, perfect. All right, no pressure.
See how he holds his hand to hold it in place?
Oh, not there. Oh, I'm sorry.
So there's all different of these carbide bits.
So the carbide bits that we're using, there's all different forms for depending on what we need. And some of them we even take and we carve lines down them, and we make it so that they mimic the sculpting tool that Ken uses, a little rake that he'll use to make marks in the sculpture. We'll draw lines in those, and then we can mimic the rake that Ken uses. So there's all kinds of techniques, including we got an air chisel over there. We'll use rocks. Sometimes we'll go find a rock and beat on the bronze to get the right texture. You can use the welder for texturing.
Good job. You're hired.
Tell them about your fishing, the splash on your...
Oh yeah, so this is another reason. Okay. So this is another reason I rely on Eric so much, because I was doing a fly fishing piece and the line was going into the water, but I didn't sculpt the water. Eric says, well, just take splashes of bronze off the floor and weld them together into a splash. So that's what he does on every one of them.
So if you look at his fisherman in there, you see this splash coming up? That's actually from drips from when we weld. It'll drip and make these forms, and we...
So every one of them is different.
Yeah, each one.
And that's Eric's idea. Yeah. Good job. Okay, so now...
Okay, you're done.
You're done. That's good.
We don't want to have to pay you. We don't want to have to pay you.
Your check's inside. Oh, that's good. Good job.
Good job.
All right. So then that leads us to, let's say all the chasing's done. I'll turn it over to Eric, but he can explain the patina process, and then we're going to actually do a patina demonstration. So here we go.
Okay. Are we going to move?
Yeah, we're going to move this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, here, I just wanted to show you the horns. So you can see there's the patch, and show him where he was grinding. So you can see where he was grinding is shiny. And now you guys know that the bronze, sandblasted bronze looks like that. And then it gets shiny when we chase it, and then we have to sandblast everything clean like this wolf before we start the patina process. But of course these wolves go with these buffaloes on a whole separate base, and that's a whole tons of work doing that. But these are the horns from that elk. You can see just on that how there was a pipe attached to the end of every single tip. So we have to reform all those tips, and then also of course weld this onto the elk. So basically the work never ends on these things. There's always something. And whatever you take out of what we're telling you, which sounds like a lot and a long process, believe me, it's much harder. And if you saw it all being done at the foundry, you would think it was harder. And if you could work there for a month, you would go, oh my God. And if you've done it for 27 years like me, you would say, I don't understand why anybody even does this. There's just so involved. So we used to have a foundry in Prescott, Scourges, and they just retired and shut it down. But they did it for like over 40 years. And I just had to give them so much respect because they did the entire process. We get everything, once it's cast is where my shop gets it, so we don't do the pouring and all that. But they did everything, and the amount of pressure it is to do the whole process is just crazy. Because each thing, so many things can go wrong.
So let me show you guys real quick. Ta-da, the finished
There's
product.
the finished.
Yeah, so the fisherman,
That's the fisherman. In parts, all assembled, welded and chased to perfection.
And then the fishing pole sticks right in there,
Yeah.
and the line gets put on.
And you cannot tell where the welds were. Yeah, so that's the progression of that piece I showed you from earlier, the wax and everything, except the fly rod. So that's pretty amazing. I dare you to find the welds. You can't.
That beautiful fisherman's got to be shipped to Virginia in about 2 weeks.
Yes.
to hear that.
Now you can go put it back in the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, move that table. So I'll tell you a quick story about how Natalie's going to show you some of this patina stuff. And you know she's 17. She started working with me when she was 15. But when she was 12, she came in second place at a sculpting contest at the Pippin Museum. And as part of the award, they cast the bronze for the people. And I said that they could come to my shop and I'd let them do their own patina, teach them how. So I met her when she was 12 doing her patina at my shop. When she was 15, her dad came by and said she was looking for a job. Did I need any help? I said, oh, no, I don't, because, you know, I mean, I always need help, but I just don't have time to deal with stuff that's not going to work out. Then I said, oh, you know what, let her come in a couple days, I'll show her some stuff. She came in the first day. After the first day, I said, oh, actually, you're hired, and I'm paying you already for what you did today. And basically, she's just picked up on it since then, and you saw her sculptures. And for anybody that didn't hear, Natalie here, her sculptures are up at Mountain Trails. But yeah, so now she's about to have her third bronze completed already. We're not even counting the one she did when she was 12, because that would make it 4.
Keep your eye on her. She's going places.
Yeah. So, but the funny story I was going to tell you was after we hired her, her dad is a firefighter. And I've often wondered how well I actually keep up to fire code, meaning I probably don't. But we've never had them come by. I've had my shop for 18 years. And one day somebody comes in and goes, there's a fire truck pulled up and about 5 of them are coming in. I go, what? I go, oh my God, hide the propane tanks, get the fire extinguishers out. What, what's going on? And it was just her dad coming by with his buddies to look at the shop. And they proceeded to ignore all my violations, so I was happy. So.
Well, that's why we keep Natalie there.
Yeah, I assume we're really protected on that now. It's not that it's so dangerous. I'm just sure it's not code. All right, here, Ken.
You want the headset? Or you can.
I'll just yell for this part. All right. So. Yeah, so Natalie's getting out so you can see, oh, this is a good little representation of what the shop looks like. Yeah. We've got all these different chemicals. There's ferric nitrate is one of them, which we actually make at the shop by putting nails in a glass bottle. We pour nitric acid in it out back. Speaking of code breaking. And that causes like an explosion and smoke comes up. And then if you gotta time it just right and sift it out, and you basically create like a jar of rust, and that's ferric nitrate, and that's one of the main patina chemicals going back. When you think of bronze, you probably think of kind of a dark brown color, right? Usually, maybe some people think of green. Yeah, the green is that it's made from copper, so that's copper rust is green. That's the cupric nitrate. But the brown and the blackish colors is liver of sulfur turns it black, and the ferric nitrate over the top of that makes it brown. So that's what people just think of as bronze colored, even though that is just a patina. And as you know, bronze is actually this color. So, all right, let's get them.
The one thing you'll notice too, when Eric heats this bronze up, it's to about 300 degrees. You wouldn't think of metal as being porous enough to hold moisture, but when he heats that up, you will see moisture come out of that bronze when it opens up the pores of the metal, which then allows the patina to absorb into the surface of the bronze itself. So the patina is not a paint that will chip or anything else. It becomes a part of the bronze. Anybody need a haircut?
I gotta try to aim this the right way here. You'll be good, you'll be good. Like I said, I've only been doing the patinas for 25 years, so we'll probably be all right. So I got a guy, Jefferson, that works for me. He's a pretty inventive sort. So he came up with this, which is my new favorite thing. My striker. So I always have that handy. Are these on? Alright. So I guess yeah, we'll start with a little bit of what Ken was saying. So this is this the liver? Jeez. Well, we'll only use a little bit of this big one, but I just want you to see. This is how we usually start the pieces, is with this big torch. Whoop. Jefferson. Let me down. All right. So turn this baby. You getting this, Shirley?
Yeah.
And I want you to know this is Ken's piece, mail
Mail
call.
call.
It's not finished yet. We're waiting for the casting of the one more little bird whose feet are on there, but the bird still has to be put on. But I thought this would be a good piece to show you some patina samples. So we start by heating it up with a big torch like this. Now can you kind of see that water coming out of there? That's what Ken was talking about. Jeremiah, can you hook up one of these to the air? All right, so yeah, so as he was saying, we actually heat it to between 350 and 500 degrees is the perfect temperature for the patina, depending. I've actually never measured that. I just read that in the book one time. I read it like 20 years ago. I quit reading the book after that sentence, so that's all I know. That's all I actually know about patina.
Well, I have to tell you, when I do my travels to various shows, people say, "Who does your patina work?" And I always tell them, Eric
what's
Peterson. They go, "Oh my God, you're kidding! You got Eric Peterson? We can't get in there for anything." So we're lucky to have him, and he's in Prescott, so he's nice and close.
I forgot I had wood under there. Minor detail.
Another one of those codes.
It's actually the one I saved in the office. It was a work hard. All right, so wait, what'd you say, Ken?
How desired you are within my industry.
Oh,
It's true.
I should have missed that part.
Yeah.
All right, this is my trusty glove, which is guaranteed to burn my finger. I can't seem to quit certain things. This finger's extra tough. All right, so once we heat it up, what we'll often do is we might have pre-done this, but this will shine it up. This is Scotch-Brite pad on here. When I first started in this business, we just had Scotch-Brite pads that we would cut out, and I would do all this by hand. We would sandblast it, and I would shine it up by hand. And then one day, after doing that for about a year and a half, my arm, I looked like Popeye, my right arm. I had my forearm stuck out like this, and I said, wait, could we maybe attach this pad to a tool? So I pretty much came up with the idea of cutting it out and attaching it and doing it like this. And that saved a lot of time and effort, and was able to shine them up a lot more. And now there's actually a whole business making these, a guy in Idaho, so we buy them from him. I used to make all my own. So you can see this will shine the metal up. So if you look at these bronzes, you'll notice like the owl, the bears, you can see the rooster here, the bronze glowing through. The edges on this bear. If you look at the fisherman that we had shown you of Ken's, the bronze is glowing through. And that's done by shining it up like that. So there you can see that bronze shining through. So that's one of the first steps. This is this chemical liver of sulfur. Here, Natalie, why don't you show them a little bit of what that'll do. And this is, anybody been to Yellowstone?
No.
You know the geysers and all that? You smell that sulfur in the air? So you guys will probably get a whiff of that. Okay, don't cover the whole thing. Now, so you can see this is liver of sulfur. You might start smelling it. Yeah, it smells like, this makes me
Old Faithful.
Yeah, this makes me think about Old Faithful. But that's how you turn the bronze that dark color. Then what we can do from there, was there water out here, Ken?
Yeah, there's a bottle in there.
Or is there a hose?
Far black bucket over there.
Oh. Thank you. So, basically your most basic way of doing a patina would be to turn it black like that and then burnish it with a pad like this and bring out your highlights. See how that brings out the highlights in the bronze? Just like that. And we could get the little coil over. Just hit it. There we go. And then now you'll see I can bring out, see that? Just pop out those highlights in that little coil. So that's your most basic thing that you can do. And then if you put ferric nitrate over the top of this, it'll get that brown color, which I'll show you in a minute. But we almost always start by doing liver of sulfur on things. So that's how the darkness that you see in the tree here, in the tail of the rooster, the pear, it's in the stem. There is all done by putting liver of sulfur on there first. So, now what I'm going to do, I can also wheel this off instead of doing it by hand and get a shinier look. So there you can see I can get a little shinier look. If my forearms were as strong as they used to be, I could have done that by hand. So now we'll switch to this little torch. You want to get the airbrush going next? So I'm going to heat it. I'm going to heat it up and have Natalie show you the... Whoop. So once it's that initial heat with the big torch, we usually, for a smaller piece like this, we'll switch to this littler torch and have it a little more under control. So I'm heating that back up. Now Natalie is going to spray it with that ferric nitrate that's in there. Bam. So there you go. So simple as that, you can get your most basic patina. So that makes it look easy. And if we wanted to do this whole piece in just that basic style, I could have each and every one of you guys doing the patina, even this little guy. We get him going, right?
Yeah.
Full steam ahead. Yeah, you could do it. Do you want to come up and try a little bit?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, careful because it's hot. It's not that hot.
This is Patrick Jr., by the way.
Patrick Jr.?
Yeah.
That's all right. Let's try, okay, that's not, oh, that is a little hot. We gotta find something that's not hot. How about this? Let's spray a little liver on that. This liver is not, here, scoot back a little. It's not, this is one of the chemicals that's not too dangerous. It's kind of like, won't hurt you.
It stinks.
Just stinks. Watch, I'm gonna rinse him off. And here, you want to try burnishing that and bring out the highlights in it. So rub that on there. There you go.
There you go.
Why did you watch?
All right, show everybody what you did. Well, let's see. Do it a little harder. Right there, across like that. Do it hard.
Like this, you do like me, though.
There you go. Oh, look, see the shine? Just
All
that
right.
easy. Yeah, let me do a little more for you. Okay, see? Okay, now go stand back over there, and we'll heat this up. Spray that guy, Natalie. And we got, there you go. There's your traditional patina. Now I'm going to show you a couple fancier things that we'll do. So if you look inside Ken's gallery, if you look, we do Kim Corey's pieces in there, and you'll see all kinds of colors and fancy techniques. A lot of different things going on. If you look at the Josh Toby pieces, we don't do his work, but we do some work like that for different artists. And those are really fancy things where you can make it look like stone and everything like that with the different chemicals. So I'll show you. This is the chemical cupric nitrate. So if I put this, that's kind of your next step of kind of a traditional look right there with the green that you'll see in the cracks of bronzes that are outside. But watch how, if I put this on right, look at the, see how I can get it to do veining, and that's, you can start making it look like stone and everything like that. I know there's a, oh, that bear. See the bear that's looking upward
Yeah.
right there, Kim?
Yeah.
I was looking at that. That's a Josh Toby piece. If you guys later look at the back of that inside, it actually has cupric nitrate veining running up it, just like this. But when you're doing it on these fancy pieces, you got to have just the right mix, the right heat, everything else. Here, I'm just kind of messing around, and it's not so hard. But the other cool thing is if we got that on and it looks kind of bluish, but watch what happens if I spray ferric nitrate on it. I can make it more of a green color. Now, and if it's put just over where the bronze is black, it'll look more blue. So it'll kind of look more blue there than it would if I put it on top of ferric nitrate without the black. And up there, it's going to come across as looking a little bit more green. And we can adjust those as much as we want, like that. So there's kind of, so that might be some grass on a piece. And what we'll do too is highlight. So we'll put it on and then highlight it like this. Okay, and then say I brush, I've got ferric nitrate in a cup right here, and I can brush that across the top. See how I made the highlights a warmer color with the green in the cracks. So that's a little bit of how that goes. You want to try showing them some zinc painting?
Did you make a mistake?
Is it possible to erase?
Well, you can sandblast this, and that's probably what we'll end up doing here is sandblasting it to start over. And that's basically your eraser. I'm jealous of, I have a cousin that's a photographer and he does Photoshop and design work and all that. And I always tell him I would trade all my skills on this to have his skills there because he can do any changes he wants to something and then just hit the back button, you know, and go right back to where he was. Try anything out. I'm in a world of hurt when I do something wrong and have to sandblast and all that. So Natalie's going to show you, oh.
Can you imagine going from that to this? With chemicals?
Now you guys can understand that cupric nitrate that's on there. So you see that? So see all those marks, how they kind of look just like what I was doing there? So that's what we did all across there, and then the bronze highlighted on the sides. You can see the bronze glowing through on this. And then this is the ferric nitrate, making that color there too, over white. Natalie actually did the cactus on here. So, yeah.
And that piece is by Kim Corey, the famous
Oh, yeah,
artist.
there she is right, I was going to say, there she is right there.
Yeah.
That's
The
her.
famous Kim Corey.
Famous, yes. Autographs later.
That's Ken and I both know. Who's number one in our shop?
Somebody get Kim a
Kim
pin.
Corey.
Kim Corey's number one.
Okay, so this acts very similar to the cupric. I don't want that.
You don't want it, you better yell.
Okay. So this does require a lot of heating.
I'm going to give her a lesson while we're doing it. Oh, it's on.
Just flip it after the ball.
Okay, here we go. So this isn't one, this is a chemical Natalie hasn't used a whole bunch. Okay, you got that too hot.
Yes.
So that's a good example to show you guys how touchy this is. You could kind of hear that noise. You all of a sudden get it too hot. And back probably the first 5 years I did patinas, the amount of heat on the piece was a big issue. You could ruin things just constantly by overheating it. Now I'm so used to it, I don't even think about the heat. I literally, it's not even in my head. I just know what to do or how it feels. But Natalie has really picked up on this patina stuff quick, but she's still got to get used to the heat and all that kind of stuff. So you see her trying to put this zinc nitrate on there, and it's really difficult to use. So I'm going to show you, here, give it one more try. Yeah, it's a little hot. Okay, but you can see the lines start to appear. Now let me give it a try.
Okay.
You explain what I'm doing. Okay, so watch. So what I'm gonna do, or I guess I'll explain. I'm gonna take from where she was and find a place where it's not quite as hot. Or, okay, this right above seems perfect. I'm gonna make the tip, remember, this is a lesson, Natalie. The tip, and then I hold it down and let it build up to that edge, and then heat it just right from a distance. And sometimes you gotta run right back over that same spot. And there you see it come and pop out. So all I can say is when you look at these Josh Toby's and other things that we've done in there with all these techniques coming across, you can see it's awfully tricky to get them all to work out just right. There we go. But this kind of gives you an idea. See how that's already starting to look stone-like? So you can do a lot of fancy things with that technique. Now I want to show you just a couple more things. We'll use squirt bottles sometimes. So if I wanted something to say look like granite, I might do this. Oh, this might, oh, here we go. Oh, this isn't quite, there we go. So that's kind of neat. This is a chemical called bismuth nitrate. Now this is ferric nitrate. If I spray this on here just right, and see all of that is kind of creating a look right there, which again, you can see this within the piece, all the pieces. If you look at, is your links in there?
No.
Inside?
No.
Okay. Well, you look at the different.
Yeah, so I was just going to point out that, I mean, Eric makes it sound really simple, right? And you see what's happening? He's painting the colors with both heat and chemical at the same time. So it's not just like a brush, and then here's the color, and I'm going to paint it on there. He's got to consider both factors. So, anyway.
So watch this. Sometimes we'll use airbrushes to put fading onto a piece. Oh, and one of the things I want to show you is how on a smooth piece, this is going to show you how things are a little different. So this has all that texture, but if we were putting it right on something smooth like this, maybe a purple pad. You see if I burnish this. Okay, so watch how this looks. You see to spray that on there, how bright and golden that looks? Where if I spray it on this flag that's just sandblasted, you'll get that kind of look. Now just the fact of how much the bronze is shined up is one of the ways that we get different colors. But I want to show you this ferric nitrate is so versatile. We can get a golden color like that. So if you look like the face of Ken's fisherman, it's somewhere in this kind of range. But watch, if I keep spraying this, if I use the heat just right with more of the chemical, I can use that same chemical to get a beautiful deep red color like that. Yeah, that's like how the pear was done.
Yeah.
So, and I actually use the textural quality on there. I actually actually used a special trick on that I don't know if anybody's done, where I'll tell you guys the secret. But what I do is put the ferric nitrate on really strong, like this. I put it on really strong. See, it looks almost black like that, and then I take water and spray it super hard on it, and it makes some of it flake off, and that gives that technique of the lighter bronze showing through like that. But yeah, that's pretty much how those colors were done. And even on Tim's here, you can see that bronze glowing through there? You can see how that's basically that same kind of color like that coming through there. And if you look at all of her pieces, you'll see there's always bronze glowing through. Even where it looks like there's not, if you look close in the light, you'll see it does have the bronze coming through. So that's one thing we like to kind of do on everything. Yeah. The colors all depend on the strength of the chemical, the amount of heat, exactly how you apply it, even like the way you're putting it on with the brush. Like Natalie, you saw more, you want to get that tip hitting, and then it builds the chemical onto it. So yeah, there's all different stuff. And when we're done with all that hot part of the patina, then we usually rinse it to neutralize the chemicals. And then you've got lacquering, and then you can go back and sometimes you'll paint little details. Like Kim's stuff is so detailed, she goes back and paints the feathers and all these things to add the details. And then and there's waxing after that, and we'll even use, I'll show you, we're going to share our secret with you, our secret weapon. Right, Nat?
Oh,
Shoe polish. Right, Ken?
it's magic.
It's not we don't consider it a real bronze if you don't put some shoe polish on it. So everything's got to have black shoe polish, right? So yeah, and then there's even techniques where you don't lacquer the piece, and we can beeswax and ether it is an old-fashioned technique. You can do hot waxing, but normally we lacquer it to protect it. And then waxing can affect the color a little, but also protect it. So, and the way the shoe polish works is you know, if something has, well here, this is crazy. I'll show you the hot waxing while that's hot. If I hot wax this with black shoe polish, which is not something I would normally do, but I just want to show you how basically that'll go on there. And let's wipe it off. I want to use all of it. Now if I wipe some of that off, there, see that? It actually kept some of the patinas under there. Now for something, that actually would look absolutely beautiful for the right thing. But that shoe polish is soaked into the pores of the bronze, and that color is not going anywhere.
Do you have any problems like with tarnishing or anything after the fact?
Where did he get it?
Change color after?
Well, that's where the lacquering comes in. So stuff like this piece of Kim Corey's, if that's kept indoors, I mean, it'll probably change a little bit over, 20, 30 years, but it's not going to be noticeable. If you stick something outside, it's going to change. If we didn't protect this right now and left this sitting out here, it'll start turning green like that. But if we lacquered it real good, it would stay looking something like this, but it would probably darken a little, it's going to get dirty. But I found a lot of things that start looking a little dark and dirty outside, I can come clean them off, refresh it, and they're almost back to looking new. So yeah, but there's always a little bit of aging for sure. And water, things by the ocean, when bronzes get set by the ocean, all bets are off. They're going to turn green. So there's no lacquer, nothing that can save it. Unless you're waxing it like constantly.
Yeah, most artists like myself will love the oxidation process. We just leave it and let it oxidize outside. They turn green and brown and all kinds of cool colors you couldn't duplicate with a hot patina. So I just leave them. A lot of the pieces I have out here I don't even touch.
So yeah, and one of the things we like to finish a lot of the stuff off, like a lot of Kens and stuff. Besides using beeswax and ether, we use this Renaissance wax, and this is the same thing the British Museum uses for all their sculptures. So they actually developed this formula, and this stuff's really expensive. I think it's like $40 for a little can like this. But yeah, but I buy big tubs that are like $300, but it makes it cheaper. So that's all what goes into it. If you got any questions, maybe Natalie will answer a few questions. Let's get her that.
I just have a question. It feels like this is multi-artisanal, really.
Oh,
And
this
it
is the whole point of tonight's show, is because I always say there's many artists involved in this to make this happen. It's a collaboration. I can't do it without these people. And so you have to trust them, and you can see why I do, because they're amazing artists in their own right. And you can imagine taking a piece like Eric's doing the patina on like that quail and leaving the patina like it is. That'll never sell. But he's considering the whole time the species of the animal, the texture I give him, and all those things make my pieces look better. Yeah, it is.
I was actually going to show you guys something on this, because this actually ends up being a rusty old mailbox.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to redo this, but I'm going to show you how even with all that stuff I did on there, I can just do a few things. Even with that black shoe polish on it. See how that can inspire already how the patina could look to be kind of a rusty old mailbox. Maybe I bring back some highlights like this, maybe some of the metals showing through or whatever, and then it's kind of a rusty. As it happens, we do a real fancy thing on here.
Yeah.
Is there one of these in there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
But in any case, there's a lot that goes into it, but that just shows you how I can kind of adapt and stuff. And actually, this is actually looking really pretty.
Yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
Ken, I can almost guarantee you, Ken's gonna tell me, "Oh, I want to try that."
Yeah, exactly.
So,
ask questions, guys. Have any questions at all? Roy.
Now, hit Natalie up with some questions.
Yeah.
I want to watch.
Natalie, the question?
Yeah, question?
Do you use any 3D printers?
That's a good question.
Use your microphone.
So,
It's off.
Is it on?
okay. So, 3D printers aren't usually used in the sculpture process. Although, if you were, say, to enlarge a sculpture, there are places where they could do that. But we don't personally do that.
Natalie just helped me do 2 life-size wolves, larger than life-size wolves in my studio. We started from the maquette with about 200 measurements and just scaled everything up, built the armature, the steel pipe, foam body, and then did it all from scratch. But you start with the smaller version.
Yes.
But once in a while, you can take a small version and they can make a big foam printout, which is kind of a rough version of the piece that you have to resculpt, but it gives you the form. And that's the main way. But if somebody made something with a 3D printer, you could do the same process with it.
Yeah.
You can mold anything. I molded we had an old hammer that I liked the way it looked, so I made a mold, and I have a couple bronze hammers now.
Was that fawn of yours hollow as well?
Yes.
It
yes.
was?
Yes.
Do
Yeah,
you
it's
cast,
very light.
Do you cast anything solid?
Very small
Use the
things,
microphone.
Like this rooster is cast completely solid. It's a lot heavier. Oh. Yeah, this is cast completely solid. It's a lot heavier than it would be if it was cast light, hollow. But small things, small simple things work out in that way.
If they're big, it's going to be way too heavy. I mean, if this thing was solid, I would lift it. I would be like, oh God, 200 and something pounds or more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, remember that buzzard?
Oh,
Going about this tall,
okay,
weighs
yeah.
like
So we
60 pounds.
we got this buzzard that wasn't even solid, but it was almost solid, and it was about that big. It was
60 pounds.
No, 35.
No, 60.
It wasn't 60.
Felt like 60.
We'll go off the field.
No, but it was only this big, and it was like 35 pounds. I mean, the thing should have weighed about 5 pounds.
So I have a question for the artist.
Yeah.
As an artist myself, how were you able to hand off something to another artist, like let's say in the beginning of your days of sculpting, to be able to trust someone to say, here, I want you to cast this for me, knowing that piece is going to be destroyed.
It's you interview the foundry, and they're like, I mean, you can tell if it's a good foundry right away, and if they're easy to work with. You can have a foundry that has very talented artists, but if they don't have the same mindset I have in terms of working with texture, working with wildlife, you may have a foundry that's really good at doing Western pieces. They can do horses and cowboys all day long, but when it comes to the texture of, you know, doing something like this. In fact, one foundry I used years ago put the ears on upside down on a deer. They inverted the ears so it looked like a mule. And it's like, okay, that's not going to work. So anyway, but you can tell quickly when you work with a foundry, and the personalities that you work with are very, very important. They're very, you know, caring of our work, very respectful of the time, because they're doing their own work too.
And do you ever communicate or talk to them before doing a piece, like for
Oh yeah.
size and
Oh gosh, yeah. I've been
proportionality?
inspired to do pieces just based on patinas I've seen in Eric's shop. I think, oh my God, that's a beautiful patina. What animal could I do that would use that patina? And so Eric's inspired me to do certain pieces. A lot of bears, and even the texture, all of them, it'd be influenced by his patinas. Yes.
So where do you get the bronzes and the wax molds?
In Prescott. Yes, so there's a foundry in Prescott that does just, so by the way, what you see here, we refer to as just rough casting. So all the rough casting pieces go to Eric. So I also use 3 foundries in Loveland, Colorado. Ship all to Eric and his staff, and then they do all the assembly. The one foundry in Prescott just does the rough casting for me, which is hard in itself. Roy.
When you're sculpting, do you take into consideration where the cuts are going to be?
The foundry dictates that, but sometimes I negotiate. Like if they say, what if we cut it off here? Well, we have 2 legs to cut off instead of just the waist. So we can kind of negotiate a little bit. And plus, the fact is, when I built the piece originally, I've got an armature in there that I have to consider how to cut it. So in many cases, I'll go to the foundry first and say, okay, where's this going to be cut? And I'll make segmented armatures where all I have to do is cut the clay and the arm pulls off. So you have to hacksaw, you know, through your wire and everything.
Do you find that you have issues with weight? You know,
Balance.
balance
Oh,
from
absolutely.
clay to the metal.
Yeah, and Eric deals with this a lot because a lot of pieces will be very top heavy. And if it's poured wrong, where it's really heavy and solid at the top part of the piece and thinner at the bottom, you've got problems. It won't balance properly.
And is this where you would collaborate and say, hey, you know, you need about 5 more pounds?
No.
No, usually what we do is put a stone base under it. The stone base lowers the center of gravity. And so if we do a piece that we know is going to be kind of questionable, it'll have a stone base under it, which is good because it makes it look even better.
There's so many problems that would be the least of our worries. I mean, there's the amount of issues. There's so many issues. I remember how to solve an issue every day that I used to know how to solve, and I re-remember it. There's so many. I'm not even kidding. It's like a cycling cruise, right, Natalie? I'll be showing Natalie something. I go, I know how. Oh, I remember this. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do it this way, and yeah. I mean, there's thousands of things that can go wrong and ways to fix them. It's never ending. So
Do you teach
yeah.
classes?
This is about as close as we get.
Yeah. You guys are getting a special treat because I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
How often are the molds? How often?
Well, every time you
every
make
time
a,
I make an order.
yeah, a wax has to be made for every single bronze.
Yeah.
But the mold itself is
There's only one mold. Yeah, the original mold is the most important thing, because if this is gone, there is no more mold. The only way we could ever get this piece back would be to mold a bronze that was made, which would be kind of a second, I mean, you can do that, but it's kind of a second life. It's sort of like,
Expensive.
yeah, it's expensive, and you gotta you gotta cut the bronze up for one thing, and then fix that. So
And that will last, and how many molds can you get out of a?
You can get hundreds of waxes out of a mold because all they're doing is pouring molten wax in there. It's about the hot temperature of coffee. This is very durable. But as an artist, you want to limit your additions. I do typically 35 of most of my pieces.
a lot of
As
these
you want them to sell out.
a lot of these molds will start. Well, they're probably better materials now, but a lot of the old molds, they fall
Yes.
apart after
Yeah.
like 20 years. So yeah, and you can use cheaper rubber that'll fall apart in like 5 years, and better stuff that'll last longer. But yeah, there's a lot of issues where some artists will have had 6 left in addition that they could have sold, but the mold is only good for one more piece when they've been around forever, and you might just make one more wax and then destroy the mold. So they last a long time, and it's not necessarily about how many waxes you make in them, it's about how many years they've been sitting around that they start to disintegrate.
I think that'd be a good thing. Limit how many you make, so you have a good limit. And
Well,
number of pieces.
and they basically are all limited anyway, so it all works out in that way. And
Nothing-
if you have an edition of 30 that hasn't sold out in 20 years, then it's probably not the end of the world that the mold disintegrated.
Nothing's better than calling a client and saying your piece is sold out.
Yeah.
There are no more left in the world. They're gone.
Yeah, the mold is destroyed. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then once in a while, I mean, sometimes an artist will have a perfectly good piece, but they just don't like it anymore, and they might want to destroy the mold, and then whoever's got one's got it's even better. There might only be 10 of them out there.
Which makes it more expensive.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the number of pewter statues as compared to the bronze?
The difference between pewter and bronze?
Yeah.
Well, pewter, I mean, it's just a different kind of metal. I don't even know what it's made of.
I think it's
Or is
aluminum
it?
partially. Isn't it?
This is the
Yeah,
sculptor.
aluminum or something. It's just cheap metal, and you can't really patina it per se. I mean, you could, but not fancy like this. The thing about the bronze is this is silicone bronze, and it's especially designed or takes the patina really well, so you can get all these fancy looks. That's Kim's favorite part of it. Kim's favorite part of all of the bronze is the patina. That's his favorite part of the bronze is the patina. You
Well,
love
that's
that.
true.
I have a whole bunch of, and that's what he just have a whole bunch of statues. They'll do 4,500.
A ton of them? It's because it's cheap.
4,500
That's cheap.
4,500 in number.
statues.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
pewter can be poured real cold, so you don't have to go through this whole process. They just do it in one shot because it can be poured not very hot, and it's cheap. So that's why. That's why there's 4,500.
That answers my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was porous somewhat, so it had air bubbles in the pewter.
I think it can. Yeah.
That's why. That's why it's got pop
It's
metal.
a soft
Yeah, I'm
metal.
not
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah, it's basically pot.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I amazingly, like I said, I've been doing this 27 years, but I don't have much knowledge at all outside of this about other metals or other processes or anything. I mean, and I'll put it this way, I would say in the last 20 days, I've had 2 days off, and I've been at work till 10 p.m. to midnight, probably 4 out of 7 days of the week. For about 18 of the last 20
That's
days.
a normal life cycle.
So one thing that's nice though, see Natalie likes to stay up late, so that inspires me. She comes in and works late, and then we get a lot done. Yeah. Yeah.
Any more questions, guys?
I'm married to Ken's bronzes.
That's right. And Kim Corey and
Yeah.
the litany of artists that. Yeah.
Who's number one?
Kim is my mistress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much, and you can see why I wanted to feature these artists. This is an amazingly complex process. So feel free to come up, ask questions, but I thank you very much for coming tonight. It's been a lot of fun.